President Biden not assuring folks on what voters say is his biggest liability, his mental acuity. The commander-in-chief, to be fair, fumbling his way through a news conference alongside the president of Kenya.
2 years ago, our nation's first black vice president, President Kamala Harris, launched the nation's first presidential advisory council on African diaspora engagement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two questions, if I may, on...
No, one.
Mr. President, could you tell me what the African Union is doing, as well as Kenya is doing, when it comes to the humanitarian crisis in the Congo? Thank you.
What was my question?
Will you allow me to break
Whoa!
Biden's struggles with memory are getting harder for the Democrats to ignore. 538 founder Nate Silver has some tough advice now for the president.
Democrats might be better off replacing Joe Biden on the ticket. If you were really as concerned about defeating Donald Trump as Democrats claim they are, then you should be doing everything in your power to maximize the chance that you win.
But if the president does not step aside, James Carville is hoping that he could at least stand up to the far left to help solve some of his, he thinks, polling problems.
One question I'd love for the Biden White House to answer: why are they so afraid of the left? I mean, they them up on immigration policy. They can't even win in deep blue areas. And they come into conflict with loosely aligned voters that we have to have. They have very little connection to Black America at all. Yet, they proportionally punch way above their weight. And I just, somebody understand it.
All right, Kevin, you said you hoped we could just fast forward through this part of the show.
That was during the break. We can't, don't get me up like that.
Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and let you start there. Because, listen, James Carville, he's been around forever in politics. And one of his things, I've referred to it before, he said recently was when he looked at the president's poll numbers, it was like seeing your grandmother naked. It was scary and you couldn't forget it.
Well, he's certainly a colorful guy. Listen, 2024 is going to be a turnout election. It's not going to be necessarily a persuasion election. Every American knows where they stand on Donald Trump and Joe Biden, right? So it's a balancing act for the president to fulfill some of the promises to the base and make sure that we're turning those folks out. Vice President is crisscrossing the country, college tours, talking specifically about abortion, student debt to get those folks out. And then it's also holding those moderate supporters that have been with the president for a long time, going back to his time in the Senate. And again, we'll see how that coalition hopefully stays together in these next 6 months.
Well, Judge, the Democrats are saying a lot of things out loud that they were whispering. We're hearing in D.C. like a year ago. But now there's this open talk more and more about got to be prepared for the possibility he leaves the ticket. What happens if he does, though? Does the vice president become the nominee? Do they go for Gavin Newsom? Where do they go?
Well, if they don't go for the vice president, I mean, they're going to have a lot of problems on their hands. I mean, she is considered African-American, Asian, and that whole segment, it was Carville who already said there's very little connection to the Black Americans in this country, Joe Biden. The last thing he could do is say, we're going to bring in Gavin Newsom or someone else. But I think that the issue is even bigger than all this, of the mechanics of what will happen. Nate Silver is right. If he doesn't get better by the end of the summer, I mean, the guy shouldn't be running. Well, you and I both know that he's not going to get better. He's only going to get older. And 3/4 of the country thinks the guy is too old to be effective. My concern is this is our president. Why do politics play into this issue at all? If we really believe in our country, if we really believe in America and what it stands for, and that we're all unified as Americans, how can we let a man like that, who can't speak, who's got to have pre-selected reporters, and then has to he conspicuously reads from printed notes. How can we let him engage with foreign leaders? How can we let this guy, decide what are the issues that this country should be upfront about and pushing forward? This is not a man who is capable of being the commander-in-chief. I don't think this guy should have the nuclear codes. I don't think he's got his wits about him. And everybody's worried about politics. We should worry about this country and forget about him. He's too old. He's too decrepit. He doesn't know what he's doing. He plagiarized from the time he first showed up. He hasn't had an original thought since the day he showed up.
I think it's some caffeine during the break.
We're going to put her down as a maybe.
You said you weren't feeling very fired up, but you're fired up now, Judge. Okay, so Joy, do you think, though, that a lot of this is baked in? Just like with President Trump, some of the hyperbole and the legal trouble and all this, people have already decided, all right, I know I'm getting with that candidate. With the president, they say, all right, we see how he's performing. He does say things that the White House needs to correct and those kinds of things, but this is our guy.
You know, I'm not a pollster, and I don't want to necessarily contradict you, but you said this is a turnout election, not a persuasion election. I see it a little bit differently. I don't care if you hate guns and you're pro-abortion. I don't care, where you are on some of these topics that are far left and very divisive. If you're broke right now, if you feel unsafe right now, you might very well be sitting there saying, you know what, I voted for Biden last time. There's no way I'm voting for him this time. Maybe I will vote for Trump. Maybe I see what I get with Trump, and I'm okay with that. I don't like the hyperbole. I don't like the conjecture, but I sure like the economy. I sure like a closed border. And so I think there is a lot of opportunity for persuasion. I don't know that the Bronx shows that, but when you see a president get up there and you dislike everything about him, but you almost have to feel sorry for him because the man can't get words out of his mouth. I don't know how people can support that and be energized by that. I think it's a huge problem. And they're not going to replace him because replacing him would be acknowledging the failure down the ballot on policy that he's enacted because he has had a busy presidency. It's just not been a successful one. So they're not going to replace him unless it is a medical issue. And so I do worry. I worry for his health while he's commander-in-chief, and I worry that that something, when Ukraine popped off, I was like, listen, I hope we can survive these wars until we get a different president, whoever it may be.
Well, and listen, that's why there's so much focus on the VPs, who the Trump pick is going to be, and Vice President Harris, because there are a lot of questions about whether they're the ones who are actually going to step up in the next 4 years.
Yeah, whatever, Shannon.
What
was that guy's name? What was that guy's name? Nate Silver. Okay.
Yeah.
So he said something that hadn't occurred to me until now. He was saying, basically, if you are positioning Trump as the most evil person in the world, why would you put Biden up there? Wouldn't you go like, oh my God, we're fighting Hitler. We can't send Grandpa Munster unless, this is where I come in, you got something else up your sleeve, huh? Who knows what that is? Because why would they do that? Why would they send this feeble creature to fight Hitler? Now, today, here's the thing. Biden is incapable of things he could have done 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Now jump ahead to November. So at this rate, he's going to make Brezhnev look like AOC. And this is the only what-if scenario the media won't touch. They spend their time doing these doomsday scenarios. Trump is going to end democracy, and they don't have evidence for that. Or Trump is going to shut down media. They don't have evidence of that, but they do these doomsday scenarios in the Atlantic, and they're all so solemn. But the dog not barking is the fact that they're not covering the doomsday scenario of Joe Biden in 6 months. And it's the only one you could actually graph. You just follow the downward slope. It's going down. It's going down. And you think about that onslaught of news about Trump's mental state from 2016 to 2020. And now in 2024, he's absolutely killing it. And you're thinking, maybe that was a hoax, too. Meanwhile, the Dems are holding their candidate together with, twine and staples, and he's staining seat cushions instead of campaigning. So maybe it's the same thing. Maybe they're keeping that under wraps the same way they elevated Trump's so-called insanity. Are you disgusted, Shannon? Oh, you're falling asleep.
Oh, did you have something? Were you talking?
You know what? She's at the Trump trial.
We're moving on now.
Dozing off.
You're no Shannon Doherty.
You're right. I'm a blonde. She's a brunette. There's a lot of good Shannons out there. All right, coming up, Elon Musk is at it again with another jaw-dropping prediction about future AI and your job.